Well, they got a point. They lose 3-2. The Edmonton Oilers do in overtime at the hands of the Arizona Coyotes, soon to be Salt Lake City. Fill in the blank. Hi, everybody. Tom Gazzola, YouTube Trev with you. It is the Oil Street Postgame show as we break this one down. A pretty sloppy game. Uninspired, I would say, about the Edmonton Oilers. Very uninspired. And Matt Kassian will be by shortly as well. Text us your thoughts, 780-218-9999. And then if you're watching, get into the nasty chat. I've seen a bunch of texts come in already. Say, what the hell was that, Tom? Wasn't a very good performance overall. Well, Calvin Pickard played well, I would say that. Joaquin Gage, who did a great job on the broadcast tonight in the home studio, lounging and enjoying. And Gage, are you the 2 thumbs up for Pickard?
Oh, 3.
Three, if he had a third one.
Say that in the room with you.
Anyway, yes, outside of Calvin Pickard, not a lot to really like as Edmonton falls 3-2 in OT. Let's start things off, as always, with the scoring summary and the game stats. In the first period, the Oilers were down. Josh Doan scores his 4th career goal from Jack McBain, and Matias Maccelli on a rebound after a nice save by Pickard. I think it went off his head, and then Doan deposits the rebound, and I believe it was Dylan Holloway that went down to block the shot, but all for naught. 1-0 at 5:20 of the first period in what was not a very strong period for the Edmonton Oilers. However, they would pick things up a little bit in the middle frame. Adam Henrique would get the equalizer just a minute 49 in. Henrique's 23rd of the season from Evander Kane and Troy Stecher. Logan Cooley, not long after that, would reestablish the Arizona lead at 5:37. Give Cooley 20 goals on the season. Good season for the youngster, despite all of the things that the Coyotes went through and have gone through and continue to go through right now. Cooley has 20, Schmaltz and Durzi with the assist. 2-1 Arizona after 2. In the third, it would be Darnell Nurse collecting his 10th goal of the season. Some good work down low by Warren Foegele to get the puck back to Nurse. Good screen in front by Evander Kane. He gets a secondary helper. That goal coming at a minute 12 of the third. We have a 2-2 tie. Neither team could get a goal in the rest of the third period, so we would go to overtime, and in OT, it was a very nonchalant Oilers bunch, and Matias Maccelli converts his 15th goal of the season. That's 55 points for him on the year. He had 53 going in. Second point of the game for Maccelli as Coyotes, Arizona takes it by a score of 3-2. That goal coming a minute 35 in. Give assist to Kesselring and Doan. So Doan, son of Shane, picks up another multi-point game. Shots on goal in this one, 39-28 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Face-off, 65.5% to 34.5% to Arizona's side of the ledger on the face-off dot. And then Edmonton 0 for 1 on the power play and 2 for 2 on the PK. Just watching Andre Turingi talking about the relocation news that the Coyotes got prior to the game. You saw Elliot Friedman break it that we could see an announcement as soon as the 17th. And we could also see the Coyotes fly to Salt Lake City to do a visit there on the 18th. That would be the day after their final game when they host the Edmonton Oilers next week. So interesting. And I'll say this, in the press box tonight, all the Coyotes staff, and listen, this is a pun, but it's true. They were all in little packs and all together clustered. And you could tell that, I don't know if damage control would be the right term, but it was interesting to see them. They weren't really talking to anybody. Usually people chat amongst themselves and mix it up a little bit, and you get to get a feel and sense of what's going on with the other organizations. But in this one, up in the press box, all the Coyotes people just stayed together and didn't really mingle with anyone. So that was definitely interesting. I saw their PR staff on the phone basically from the start of the game up in the press box right till the end. And it just a weird thing to witness firsthand as the situation was evolving. And then on the ice, the team's playing, picks up the 3-2 win in OT over the Oilers. But nothing I've ever been through, nothing I've ever seen. I do remember when the Jets were, sent back to Winnipeg via Atlanta, but that was a little bit different than this. We didn't have it right in the middle of a game where the news was breaking, and we didn't have a GM of a team addressing the group prior to the game, saying, hey, we're moving to another city. Enjoy the rest of your time in the city that we're currently in. So very different situation, and just wanted to kind of bring that to light and share what I saw and witnessed today inside the arena and down by the locker rooms and in the press box. Just let's finish up the stats here before we get to some texts, and then Matt Kassian will be joining us as well. So I went through hits 37-19 in favor of the Oilers, block shots 18-12 in favor of the Coyotes, 9 giveaways officially for Edmonton to 4 for Arizona, 9 takeaways for the Oilers to 7 for the Coyotes. 780-218-9999. And then nasty chat. Keep doing your thing. Lots of texts coming in, lots of disappointing texts. That's for sure. This one starts out with, wow, what an embarrassing loss. They did know they have a chance to win the division, right? Also, how do you let some guy nobody's heard of score on you in OT? I would say this. Matias Maccelli, again, 2 points tonight, 55 on the season. He is a good young player and has a great Italian last name, although he is from Finland. So the Coyotes do have some decent skilled players, and Maccelli's one of them, and he buried his opportunity in OT where the Oilers were half-assing it. Simple as that. Let's go to Pissed Off Graham, who says the Salt Lake City Disco sure danced around the lazy Oilers tonight. That's a good way to sum it up. Pissed Off Graham. The Oilers, again, kind of nonchalant throughout the majority of the evening, picked it up in the second period, and then kind of ho-hum the rest of the way, and ultimately they lose in OT. Do get that loser point, though, and do get the Canucks tomorrow. Let's go to Dave. Dave says, of course the Oilers would piss away a chance to seize control of the division. Such an incredibly disappointing outcome. Let's go to Mike in Thunder Bay with this one. Says, with only 1 point tonight and Canucks having the tiebreaker, it's going to be tough to take first, but there's still a chance. Oilers should be more engaged early tomorrow night. Connor is going to be flying. Mike in Thunder Bay. I'm not sure we're going to see Connor McDavid tomorrow night, but you never know. And he did say this morning that he does not like resting, but he is recouping on an injured, I don't even know what, lower body injury. So I have my doubts that he plays tomorrow, but we shall see. All right, one more before we get to Matt Kassian. This one from Cal in the Park says, just curious, because Jack didn't make it clear during the broadcast, do the Oilers control their own fate for first place? I think that's a bit tongue-in-cheek there, and if they wanted to really take the bull by the horns, they would have played a little bit more inspired tonight, which they didn't necessarily do for large portions of that game. All right, keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999, and the nasty chat. Let's get Matty Kassian in here. Hello, Cass. Those pesky Coyotes, after finding out that they would be moving from their meeting with Bill Armstrong, their GM, right before heading out for warm-up, do get the better of the Oilers. Just your first impressions of the game overall tonight, Cass.
Yeah, well, slow start.
Slow start kind of kills the Oilers. They didn't get going, couldn't really get going until the second. And they had some opportunities. Evander Kane had a couple posts. I think it was Draisaitl had another post. Like, they had some chances where they weren't able to put the puck in, and they did control the play the rest of the way. Like, the remainder of the game, they were in control. They didn't give up much. Kind of in the second, most of the second, and pretty much the whole third. But in overtime, it's really anyone's game, 3-on-3. There's most likely going to be opportunities both ways, and they gave up the bigger opportunities, and they end up not getting an extra point out of it. So it wasn't a great game, wasn't overly pretty, maybe a little bit of hangover from a big win and a big game the other night against Vegas, and it just wasn't they didn't have a lot of jam tonight for a good chunk of the game. Tommy, maybe a hangover too from the we're really good without McDavid and it's like, or we have to be really good because McDavid's not playing, into it's Arizona, it's not a big deal, we're going to be fine, and they just didn't come out of the gate like they needed to.
How concerning would that be, Cass? Because you could tell the spark and the fire wasn't there, but it didn't seem like there was that much worry, I would say.
Yeah, there wasn't. I'm not concerned about it. It's not a playoff team. Now, if they limped out with the same sort of effort at the start of the game tomorrow, then all of a sudden I would say, okay, here's a team that needs to find that gear again that we saw against the Vegas Golden Knights. But it was the Arizona Coyotes. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not reading too much into this one, Tommy, and nor should you, nor should the fans.
Yeah.
I don't think McDavid, I'm with you on that. I don't think McDavid plays tomorrow. Probably not going to be back in the lineup. Why? Now you're going to be looking at this one with a little bit more motivation against Vancouver, because you're like, well, hey, we could still potentially get that first place if we beat the Canucks, and if we win out, we could still get first place in the division for the first time since 1987. So there's some added motivation, and I think maybe it just they didn't have it at the start, but they got there, Tommy. They did get there. They just weren't able to capitalize later in the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. 780-218-9999, 3-2 OT. Lost Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you. YouTube Trev holding things down back at ESTHQ. Joaquin Gage in the home studio with me right now. I know you guys are super tight best friends, and you love him very much.
Really.
Cass, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I know you guys are really tight, but Gage was laughing. He put in a good shift tonight on the broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah, he always does. Gager always does.
Do.
Yeah, no, he always does a really good job.
Oh, thanks, says Gager. All right, let's get to some text here as the Oilers fall in this one. Do pick up that loser point. You blew it. I'm kidding. Calgary Glenn texting in says, hey, Tommy and Cass, the Oilers went through the motions tonight, played well, but not hard, if that makes sense. Give the Coyotes credit for playing hard despite all of the drama they're facing. Happy birthday to your mom. Thank you, Calgary Glenn. She's had a great day. She went to Mr. Mike's and probably had the saloon bites and some 6 o'clocker lager, but Pops took her there, and my brother went down as well, and a great spot to get a bite to eat. The best, says Dusty Nielsen. Let's go to Paco. Says, if there was any doubt before this game, I think the question has been answered. I take CC over Stetcher any day. Cass, you want to get in on that? Because you and I, we've talked about this so many times, but I think, Stetcher's fine, but he has a certain way about him. He can do some things well.
He's fine.
Yeah, but
he's fine. He's exactly what you said. He's fine, which is why you traded for him. He's fine. I still would take CC over him, which is why CC plays. And I think most of the management probably would as well. But in an instance like tonight where CC's not in the lineup, Stetcher was fine. Ends up with an assist, ends up +2. So yeah, he was fine. He was fine. Not unbelievable. He's not going to magically transform your decor, but he's going to be fine, which is exactly what Troy Stetcher was tonight.
All right, let's see what we got here. Shaggy in St. Albert. Long one from Shaggy here. Let's go. Oh, well. Back to Oilers style hockey. Did not show up at beginning of a game. On plus side, they came back twice, but never led in game. Dominated the shot starting in second period. Pickard was good, but they squandered a chance to move much closer to Canucks and only get the loser point. Draisaitl invisible tonight other than his usual number of bad passes. First place in division is not that important, but would have been nice, and was hoping they could continue their streak of complete games, but they could not finish their chances when they were dominating the play. They were sloppy and uninspiring. That last line from Shaggy and St. Albert, I think, sums it up pretty well. There were a couple of bright spots tonight, Cass, and I'm not going to suggest them to you. I just want to ask you, if you looked at individuals tonight, which ones from the orange and blue side would you go, you know what? They had a good game despite everybody else.
Yep, I was thinking Evander Kane was the first one that jumped to my mind, where he was a little more engaged, and maybe it helps that Dylan Guenther was getting into it a little bit with him. Maybe not want to mess around with Evander Kane too much if you're Dylan Guenther, but I thought Evander Kane was pretty engaged today. Ends up, I think he's second, or maybe third in terms of total minutes played in that forward group tonight, but was pretty solid around the net a whole bunch. Nice little screen on that second goal, ends up with 2 assists.
Yep.
And I thought he had a pretty good night all around. Like, it was, I would say, one of the more, maybe inspired isn't the right word, but it was a better performance from Evander Kane, like where he looked more like the Evander Kane we hoped to see heading into the playoffs. And we kind of expected to see the last couple months that hasn't really, he hasn't had that game too many times. But I thought he was pretty good today. Like, I was the thought I had a couple times. It's like, oh, I kind of like Evander Kane's game today. Like, I thought he was solid.
Multi-point night for Evander Kane. You won't be surprised to hear this, but Gager was very happy with Calvin Pickard, and rightly so.
Yeah,
I thought Pickard made some excellent saves. I feel like he's probably one of the few reasons why they even got that loser point tonight.
Yep. He kept them in it in the first period and a half when they weren't playing very well. Made some saves. Those 2 saves in overtime were pretty nice. I mean, I was a little more than actually them giving up the point. I was more disappointed just for Pickard in that overtime, because I was like, you make those couple saves. You had a really great start to the game. You gave your team a chance. It would have been nice, like, to get out of that overtime and to be able to really hang your hat on that game for him. Now, I guess he still can. He can hang his hat on. He got his team to overtime, and they got a point because of him. But yeah, he'd be another guy on that list, I think, where we'd say that was a really solid night. Not as solid from Ekholm and Bouchard in front of him. I don't think they had the night that they would like, or that we would like them to have. Probably the first time in a while where that pairing, I don't want to say really struggled, but they weren't as steady as they have been.
This text out of Vancouver says, Oilers Twitter sure do be quiet tonight. Yeah, I guess. Maybe tomorrow night, though, it might be a little bit different. That text coming in from the old 604 area code. Let's go to Spruce Grove. Rick says, Tommy, this team cannot seize any moment. So what will happen in the playoffs? And then Spruce Grove Rick, who is the brother of Leduc Dan, also added, we keep saying, just forget about this one. It's just one game. Flush it. Enough of the BS this time. This team is either the best in the league or a non-playoff team. It is true. Spruce Grove Rick, brother of Leduc Dan. I'll let you handle it. You want to. Go for it.
They still got a point, right? They still got a point. I don't think that this was like, this wasn't a big moment game, Tom. It wasn't a big moment game. You're playing a non-playoff team that is going to be moving. It's back-to-back where you play a very good team tomorrow, and you're coming off of a statement sort of game against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So to me, it's not a failing of the moment to be like, oh, this was one where it's just like, they had everything going for them heading into this one, and they this was to get into the playoffs and to secure a spot. Like, it wasn't that type of game. So I'm just, I don't know. I take that with a grain of salt. Now, I don't think you want to totally flush it either. I mean, it's not like the game was so bad that we're sitting here going like, oh, just forget about this one as quick as you can. But the reality is it was just kind of a black game. It was a meh game. It was a get a point. And yes, you're going to move on. And you kind of naturally, I guess, have that flush anyways, because it's like, well, you're getting ready now for Vancouver.
Yeah.
Like, you're flipping the page pretty quick. It's, you know what? We got a point. Can't have that slow start. Let's move on and get ready for tomorrow. I mean, you're not going to spend too much time tonight reminiscing about things that could have gone better in this game. There's no time for that. And really at this point in the season, it wasn't a great start. It wasn't a great start. Yeah, it was a solid second period and a half. Would have been nice to win in overtime, but meh.
Shaggy and St. Albert did sum it up really nicely. Sloppy and uninspiring. Totally. Yep. You touched on it a bit on the pregame show, and you said, hey, try not to look past Vancouver, or try not to look past Arizona to Vancouver. I think they're totally guilty of doing that tonight.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, especially at the start of the game, I think so. I think they were looking more at the Vancouver game and just kind of going, we're just going to kind of walk over these guys, and it didn't happen. Yeah. Chief Andy in on the nasty chat with, if they lose the division by 1 point, we'll look back at this game. That's actually a fair point, Chief Andy. That is a fair point that we probably would and will look back at this and say, that could have been the point there that did it. They would have had first in the division if they would have secured that point. But it is a toss-up in overtime. We have to remember that too. Like, it's not, and especially without Connor McDavid, where having Connor McDavid for overtime probably impacts you more than not having Connor McDavid for, the the first 60 minutes in a hockey game, where it's just like, 3-on-3 with McDavid. That's a lot of space for the best player in the world. But yes, Chief Andy, I agree. If they don't get first in the division, we will look back at this one and say, that would have been nice. At the same time, here's a question for you, Tom.
Yep.
And we talked about this stuff a little bit, and maybe a question for everyone listening. Feel free to text in your opinion or throw it in the nasty chat. Who do you want to play in the first round?
Yeah, Cass, I think I'm at the point where if I look at it from an Oilers point of view, I'm sure, you probably want LA or Vegas. Right? It looks like more and more as we get closer to the end here, it'll probably be LA with the way Vegas is struggling. But, there's the advantage of maybe being able to get past Vegas this postseason and the mental edge it could give you. But if you get the Kings, some people say that third time's not a charm and they're worried about LA, even though LA has its deficiencies. I honestly don't care. Like if I'm the Oilers, I don't want to start to play I want to play this team game because we match up with this and this better and we have this better. I feel like that's not the right mentality that a contending championship caliber team would have. I think if you're truly gunning for a championship, you say bring on whoever.
Yep.
And we're gonna take them down because we feel that good about ourselves. That's my point of view. I know there's others there that, would look at the breakdown and the numbers and the matchups and go, well, Edmonton really stacks up well against Nashville. And historically, they've been killing Nashville, and Draisaitl and McDavid have teed off on them offensively. So that would be a great matchup. Vegas scares me because, Mark Stone is back. He started skating today, by the way, if you hadn't heard. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, he's back for the playoffs for sure.
By now. And then, he's back for the playoffs. But to me, I fully accept and understand those points of view, but I just think, if this is your time as the Oilers feel like it might be, you don't care. You just
you got to beat everybody.
Who do we have first round? Let's go.
Yeah. You got to beat everybody. I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. Big fan 2019 and on the nasty chat says, I'm confused. So does that mean we did not get home ice? Well, you have home ice. They will have home ice in the first round. The second round, it will be dependent on who wins. If you win, who wins the other series. So if it's Vancouver that wins, well, then no, Vancouver will have home ice if they finish first in the division. If Vancouver were to lose, you would have home ice in the second round as well as Edmonton. So you'd still get home ice in that first round. They will get home ice in the first round regardless at this point.
Yep.
But it is just about that second round potentially playing the Vancouver Canucks and not having home ice advantage in that series.
Nicely done, Cass. Having said that, Edmonton, just the points breakdown right now, 3 points back of the Vancouver Canucks and a game in hand. 48, 24, and 6 is the Oilers' record through 78 games. Vancouver's at 48, 22, and 9 through 79 games. In its last 10, the Canucks are 5, 4, and 1. They did lose to the Coyotes in OT on Wednesday night. And then the Oilers, meanwhile, 6, 2, and 2 in the last 10. They had their home winning streak snapped at 6 games, and they were on a 7-game winning streak against Arizona, and that is kaput. So they're going to try to start a new one on Wednesday of next week and then carry it into Salt Lake City, which is absolutely insane because now it's we thought it was pretty real earlier in the day. Now it's very real.
Yep.
I do want to get to more text, 780-218-9999. But before I do, really quickly, Cass, I am curious, if you were in the situation that the Coyotes players are in right now, and you find out before the game that you are indeed moving, how would you handle that situation and scenario, and what would be the phone calls you'd be making? Because I feel like all of those guys' phones are probably just crammed with texts and missed calls and voicemails.
Yeah, well, it all depends on what life stage you're in. I mean, if you're one of the guys with kids, I mean, you're you're thinking pretty quick. I got to scope out places to live. I got to scope out schools. If they're school aged, I got to find out what areas we should look to. Cause it's not like you're going somewhere where, you can call team services. I mean, I guess you would be able to, but
Yeah.
to be like, hey, where do all my teammates live? And text, one of the guys that that you played with before, or you played
Mhm.
against, and that you're buddies with the same people, and you're like, hey, where should I look at a place? Like that's kind of the first thing that I think you'd be thinking of. Okay, where am I going to live? Like, where am I going to
Yeah.
put my family? How we're going to do that? The second thing I do is I'd pull up Google Maps and I would search up. Like the Chick-fil-A's, probably the restaurants, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, where are the spots here? Where am I going to be going? Where am I going to be? Where am I going to be eating? Because I clearly care
Right.
about food, so I
Yeah.
would be maybe looking into that a little bit as well. But hey, it's a beautiful place. Utah is beautiful.
It is. It's
So
very
there's
scenic.
you're moving out of the desert, and yes, it's not as warm as it is in Arizona, but it's not like you're going to a dumpy a dumpy city that's
Not
like,
at all.
or somewhere that's really bad. But really that's what it is. You're kind of figuring out, okay, well, what's my life going to be like there? And generally for most people, that starts with, where am I going to live? Where am I going to
Yep.
sleep? Where am I going to be safe with my family and be in a good spot and be close to the rink, and all those types of questions. That's probably where you're looking first.
If I was a 22, 23-year-old player on the Coyotes and I'm going from having the time of my life at ASU parties to Salt Lake City, I would be a little bit bummed out. So you like that one, Gager?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Gager's laughing pretty good. All right, let's go back into the text. 780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian with you. Reno says, what kind of arena is there in Salt Lake City and how many seats does it hold? I know the answer to this. I looked it up yesterday. So Vivint Center, I think it's called, used to be the Delta Center. It's where the Jazz play. It's like 19,000, but that's for basketball specific. And if they convert it to hockey, I know they're going to have to quickly retrofit it. It would be about 14,000 with one end zone, basically barely usable, like they had in Brooklyn with the Islanders for a bit, like they had in Arizona with the Coyotes downtown. And that's kind of what it would have to be for the first few years until they get this new arena that they want to build done in 3 or 4 years. And I know there's talk of Olympics going back to Salt Lake City. So that's the biggest one. And then there is the one that they used for the Olympics in '02 called the Maverick Center, and it seats 13,000. So not ideal, but they can make it work for a couple of years and then get into their brand spanking new facility downtown. They'll probably build them a nice the new thing, Cast now, and I know some teams had these, but the practice facilities that basically take over as the home base for these teams. Montreal's got one in Brossard. The Coyotes have the Den in Scottsdale, which will no longer be theirs, obviously. Dallas has one that they have I think it's the Dr. Pepper centers, and
Yep, theirs is really
Boston.
nice too.
Yeah, Boston has the Warrior Center, and they're right by the
Minnesota's got a new
Celtics.
one too. There's a lot of the teams that do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
There's a lot, and that's a big part of it. Now, Edmonton doesn't have to have a separate facility because they just built it in.
Yeah.
You have the downtown community arena
Yep.
that's attached there. That it's basically you walk.
It's the hub.
They're attached. You just walk a little bit farther from the
Yep.
dressing room, so you're kind of always, and the training facilities. I mean, if you have had the pleasure of being in the Oilers room and going on a tour, it's it's pretty ridiculous. Like
Man, yeah.
it's nice. It's nice. And part of the reason they do that is, having good facilities like that, not having to drive somewhere else, going to the same place every day if you live downtown or live by the rink is a benefit. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what that setup looks like for the first couple of years. And now, obviously, if they get shovels in the ground and build a new building, well, yeah, you're gonna have awesome new facilities.
Yeah.
But that's going to take a little bit of time, and not ideal, as you said, for a rink or an arena that is built for basketball. You miss out the whole one end zone, and even from a goaltender standpoint, I know, and maybe Gager. I mean, I don't know if he can hear me right now, but
No, he's
it
watching the
does
Flames
something
game.
different to you visually because it ends up being just kind of dark on that other end. And so from a visual standpoint, you're dealing with some different stuff when you're there. For depending on, I'm assuming, you're probably going to have the crowd in the offensive zone where
Yep.
they're in the offensive zone for 2 periods. And so that goalie is going to be, it's just going to be a little bit weird visually. There's just some quirks about playing in a rink like that.
I'll ask him. When you have like a basketball specific arena being used for hockey,
Sucks.
it sucks. What about for the
Lose the
goaltenders?
puck.
You lose it?
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
it's just dark. You don't have the stands behind. You don't have color. You don't
Yeah.
have jerseys. It's just like black. And so, like where you normally would have some color behind the glass and some just visually, like any pucks that are coming at you that are higher, I
Mhm.
just think it makes it more difficult to track as a goalie. Like it's different. It just creates a little bit of, again, a quirk to playing in that rink.
Yeah, he says it sucks and you lose the puck. So, yeah, Cass, interesting. But both goalies for whatever teams are playing there are going to have to deal with it night in, night out for a little bit, and then they can get into their new brand spanking new facility when it gets done in downtown Salt Lake City. Cal's texting in, and he just says, "Why are we even worried about this game, Cal? I don't think the Oilers were with the way they played. That's
Nope.
for sure.
They definitely weren't in the first period and a half.
Yeah." All right, let's go to this one. I'm curious to see what you think, Cass, about this text. Says the coach lost this game, in my opinion. Why was Henrique out there? Lazy play on the goal. You need skaters in OT. McLeod, Fogle, even Holloway should have been out there. Man, Cass, what would you say to that text?
Well, remember when McLeod was on the ice in OT and people were like, "Why is McLeod on the ice in OT?"
Yes.
That wasn't that long ago that happened. Who else are you going to put out? I don't think you're. Excuse me. I don't think you're putting out Warren Fogle. Henrique's a veteran guy that's played in overtime before, so yeah, you're probably going to put him out there again. The impact I think is felt more not having McDavid in the lineup in overtime just because of again how good he is. So yeah, I mean, like now you can look at it now and say, well, maybe you would have put McLeod out there instead, but the last time he was out in overtime, he made a mistake and it ended up in the back of your net and you lost. So Henrique, again, veteran guy, he plays in your top six, probably going to be one of the first guys to go over the board. And really, they didn't lose the game in overtime. I know they lose the game in overtime, but they lost the game because they had a horrible start to the first and a half, and they weren't able to just dominate for a full game and not give the Coyotes a chance at all. Like they let them take the lead and take the lead again. So yeah, I mean, yes, I get that they lose in overtime, but to me, the result or the not the result, the reason
Process?
is just that first period and a half.
Yeah. They didn't take the game. Simple as that. And the ultimate result is a 3-2 overtime loss. Couple more texts here, Cass. I think, Trev, do we have any audio and video coming in yet?
Yeah, just working on Adam Henrique and Evander Kane.
Okay. And I know a lot of the hubbub was people having to go to the Coyotes locker room right after, especially with the news that broke. So maybe a little bit of a delay, but we will get to that ASAP. Let's go to Jeff now. Jeff texting in said this was the type of game in which the shots on goal totals were meaningless. 39-25 for Edmonton flatters the Oil. My eyes saw the far better chances were on the side of Arizona. Multiple odd man rushes given up in the third period and all kinds of high quality chances for the Oats. I also disagree with Cass. This is a failing of the moment because if you are serious about getting first, it should be easier to beat the likes of the Coyotes than the Canucks or Avs. Uninspired, indeed. Cass?
Yeah, uninspired indeed. Yes, I'll agree with you there. I still, I mean, and he said he disagrees with me, which is fine.
Yeah, that's
You're
fine,
allowed to
but
disagree on that.
yeah, of course.
I don't think it was a big moment game. It wasn't.
No.
Again, you're coming off of an emotional, good victory, great victory over top of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. You play the team you are chasing for first tomorrow in the second night of a back-to-back. It was really easy for Edmonton to look past us. And at the start of the game,
And
as
they
you
did.
mentioned, Tommy, that's what they were doing. But to me, it wasn't a big moment game. But feel free to disagree on that. That's fine. You can disagree. That's okay.
It's the beauty of doing these shows.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to Jose. Says, I was in the Delta Center the 2nd of April to see the Jazz play Cleveland. Not a bad building, and they do serve tall cans. Ironically, was driving back from Phoenix. Go Oilers. Jose in Fort Sask. All right,
Maybe they'll get some 6 o'clock or lager down there.
Hey, I saw a lot of people sending pictures today about them drinking 6 o'clock or lagers. My buddy Shane was having it for the first time. He was loving it. And
Perfect.
yeah, so it's a 6 o'clock or lager. What did Dusty say? The number one selling craft beer in Alberta? I think it was something like that. Is that what it was?
It was something along those lines.
Yeah. It was
Pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool.
Sweet. Yeah, and you should text in a picture of it. You get yourself a couple of those, snap a picture and text it into the text line because we'll see it and we'll enjoy seeing it.
Absolutely. All right, couple more texts and then we'll get Cass's thoughts on tomorrow night's matchup and then we'll go inside the Oilers locker room. This one comes in and just says, this game stressed me out so much I had to stop by Seductions.
Okay.
Gager's loving this. He is laughing. He is laughing. And then let's take a quick peek at the nasty chat. Neil Garrity says, I think 97 wants a crack at Vancouver. And then Trev also put up a poll. If you're watching, get in on the poll. It's who would you prefer the Oilers play in round 1 of this year's playoffs? He has the Golden Knights, Kings, and Predators. And it's actually pretty close. Not that many votes so far. So get in on the poll. 37% say Vegas, 33% say LA, 31% say Nashville. Unless you close the poll. Did you close it?
No, it's still going.
Okay, still going. Let that baby roll. All right. Cass, tomorrow night, Vancouver Canucks. If you want to reel them in, you got to win in regulation. How do the Oilers regroup after what was an uninspiring, sloppy performance tonight?
Yeah. Well, unlike this one, I think tomorrow is a big moment game, right? And similar to Vegas, it's a team that you very well likely have to beat. You potentially, if you win the first round, you very well may have to go through the Vancouver Canucks to progress further. They're a team that has absolutely spanked you this year, that has dominated you in some instances this year. And so, if you head into this, which I'm assuming you will probably still be without Connor McDavid. Now, maybe he does play tomorrow. It didn't look like he wasn't doing anything and skating gingerly. Like he's day to day.
Yeah.
But if you do it either with or without Connor McDavid, you have to bring a better game. You have to. And I don't think the Canucks have been the same, without Thatcher Demko in net. At the same time, Tom, it's a big moment game. Now you don't ultimately care about winning first in the division. As you said, you care about trying to win a Stanley Cup and about just being at your absolute best. But part of being at your absolute best is beating teams and being ready to beat teams that are really good teams, that are playoff teams that you might have to play in the playoffs, that you could very well see in a 7-game series. So, Tommy, you are just resetting, you are flushing, you are moving on, and you're just prepping for a little bit more of a battle. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks, they play most games the exact same way. They play a very Rick Tocchet style. They play very much in straight lines. They try to play very fast, very aggressive, and they try to pressure you a lot. And Edmonton has really struggled with that in the games they've played so far against the Canucks. So you got to prepare yourself mentally for that pressure that both Vancouver is going to apply and just the pressure of the moment. Because again, I think it's another statement game. Absolutely statement game tomorrow.
Yeah. Oilers and Canucks locking horns for the first time since November 6th. Cass, great work as always, my friend. Get some rest, and I will catch up with you tomorrow.
Thanks, buddy. It sounds good. We'll see you soon.
Good night, Cass, says Gager.
Good night, Gager.
Good night, Gager. He does not hate you. 780-218-9999. If you want to text us, the Oilers lose 3-2 in overtime. Matthias Michelli with the winner, past Calvin Pickard, who probably was Edmonton's best player tonight. Let's not kid ourselves. All right. Really quickly now, portions of this hour brought to you by 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Listen to Nielsen with Yukon Jack and McCord every morning. Tune into Jess Jackson on your way home from work every afternoon. All right. With that being said, let's go inside the Oilers locker room. YouTube, Trev, who are we going to hear from first?
That's a good question. I'm feeling Evander Kane. Let's hear what 91 has to say after tonight's overtime loss.
They scored in overtime. We didn't. We had some good looks where we probably could have had a couple more, but we didn't get the job done on that front, and they scored in overtime.
Were you guys a little off today, or was this just a team that had nothing to lose that had a better night?
I think we were a little off early on. I thought we got better, especially in that second period. Then obviously came out and tied it early in the first there, and probably would have maybe liked a few more pucks on net. But like I said, we had a lot of good looks and just weren't able to find that third goal.
This is one of those ones you beat pretty good Vegas, and you play Vancouver, and this is a team that's stuck in between. It's not going anywhere. You're trying not to look past it, but you did to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're aware of where everybody is in their season, and obviously they're playing a loose brand of hockey, and they got some good skill. And when they got in our zone, they had a lot of perimeter stuff. But like I said, we generated enough looks to score enough goals. Didn't do that, and lost in overtime.
You want to limit these, obviously, late in the season here, but your game has been at a pretty high level. And maybe just a thought on where your game is at overall, and you'll have the odd night like this still.
I mean, it's the NHL. Everybody's still playing for something, no matter where you are in the standings. Young team like that, they want to test themselves against a quality team like us heading into the postseason, and we knew that, and we know that. And like I said, I mean, it was a hockey game where I thought we controlled, the second and third period for the majority, but couldn't find a way to put a few more past them.
With everything they're kind of going through, supposedly going through with the move and all that, I mean, are you kind of wondering how they're going to come out and play, or how it might impact them?
Not really. I think, just they're a young team with a lot of guys trying to establish themselves in the league, and when you have a big or a lot of players on a team like that, they don't really care where they are in the standings or how many games are left. They're looking to bring their best every night and kind of playing with nothing to lose. So, like I said, they're a good team. They got some skill, but I thought we carried the play for the majority of the night. They scored in overtime.
Vancouver tomorrow, just kind of what you're thinking with what could happen depending on the result of that game.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that's earlier in the season had our number quite a bit. Haven't played them in a long time, so I think we're most likely both teams are looking forward to getting back on the ice together and settling to see where the division stands.
All right, there was Evander Kane, and X-Ray J said, I liked Kane's jump. He had good jump today. I think I would agree with you, X-Ray J. Kane, by the way, today 2 assists in the loss, a +1, 3 shots, and 7 hits in 16:22 time on ice. Took a face-off, and he won it. So Evander Kane with a...
He was playing the playoff hockey.
Yeah. Oh, Gager says he was playing playoff hockey, which is good. I was just about to say, nice to see it at this time of year, finally, for Evander Kane. So that's good. And hopefully that only continues to build up as we progress through the end of this week and into mid next week, where the regular season comes to a close. All right, Trev, where are we going next?
Yeah, he had an okay night tonight. He chipped in with 1 goal. Let's go to Adam Henrique.
Coyotes had a lot of motivation in the first 40 there. Came back in the last period, but what did you think of the game tonight?
Yeah, I think I don't regret the best start. We certainly had opportunities to score, but couldn't find a way to get the lead.
You guys did clinch home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Is that any consolation you guys lost tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that's nice, but you want that second point. So that's a tough one to give up, I think, especially the big matchup tomorrow.
Is this another trap to beat Vegas? You got Vancouver, and this team's in between.
Yeah, these games can kind of, at times kind of go under the radar. Everybody talks about tomorrow. I thought we did a good job focusing on what we needed to do, but didn't have the best start. And I thought we battled. We had opportunities, but couldn't find a way to get that next one to give us that extra momentum.
What your line was pretty effective.
Yeah. I think we've been building that chemistry there between the three of us, and a lot of talk, about what we're seeing and feeling on the ice. Tough to give the one after we score that first one, but I think we are building that chemistry.
Calvin Pickard tonight, incredible to give you guys a chance to get to overtime.
Yeah, he played great. Since I've been here, every game he's been in, he's given us opportunity to win the game. A lot of times those guys fall on the, I guess, you'd say the tougher schedule of back-to-backs and whatnot, but that guy comes in and he's certainly a gamer and give us opportunity to win every night.
I'm sure you guys aren't thinking too much about the situation in the other room coming into a game like this, but you get the sense that they had a little extra motivation knowing the news that we're told they received, I guess, just before game time.
I don't know. It's bit of a mess over there, I guess, for years, and so I don't know what the news is or was or what's been said to those guys over there. Those guys are professional hockey players and want to be treated as such, and I think you respect that as players, and everybody's been in different situations and different teams and whatnot, and so I guess we don't know what the clarification is or where things are at, but you certainly respect them as players, but I guess maybe we'll get clarification the next few weeks.
All right, there's Adam Henrique. Bit of a mess. That's being nice, Adam Henrique. It's been a big mess for a long time, and it looks like somebody's finally sweeping it up as the Coyotes look like they are headed to Salt Lake City. We could be getting an announcement in the next handful of days here, as it sounds like the team was informed just prior to tonight's game that they are indeed leaving the desert. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us. 5 games on the schedule around the National Hockey League tonight. Calgary leading Anaheim 5-3. The Flames just scored on the power play. 4 minutes left in the third period there. Carolina 5-2 winners over St. Louis in St. Louis. Nashville crushes Chicago 5-1 in the Windy City. And the Golden Knights absolutely dummy the Minnesota Wild 7-2 at T-Mobile Arena. So for the Golden Knights, they pick up a couple of points, give them 94 on the season, and they sit one back of the LA Kings, with both teams having 3 games remaining. All right, 780-218-9999. You can text us, and you can get into the nasty chat as well. I'm going to read one before we go into the Oilers room from X-Ray J, who says, 6 o'clocker, Sun barbecue, Oilers lose. WTF. I'll add one more in from Hockey Girl, who says, shocked to learn that Knoblauch's only 45. Holy Silver Fox. And then Hockey Girl is crushing on YouTube, Trev.
Wow.
All right. Hello. Look at YouTube, Trev, mixing and mingling. All right, YouTube, Trev, where are we going next, big boy? Look at you, you little stud.
Yeah. Last but not least, let's hear from the Oilers bench boss, Chris Knoblauch.
Just thoughts on the start and the finish of tonight's game.
Yeah, early on, I don't think we, it wasn't our best. I think we spent a lot of time in the defensive zone. Maybe a little puck management, not making and executing plays. I think a lot of it was just we were in position, but we weren't aggressive enough to get the puck back, and we were just having to defend more than we needed to. But as the game wore on, I think we built up a lot of opportunities, and I thought we were a better team in the second half of the game, but I don't think we were the first half.
Arizona's a team that's had a lot of things happen to them over the last few days here. Is there any thought about how a team like that, with so much going on, comes out and plays before a game like that?
No, they're playing hockey. There's other stuff that's going on. I don't think that has any effect on whether they play well or not.
Chris, question from Cam. Just wants to know about maintaining a sense of urgency through the last part of the season and how you do that as a coach.
Well, I think the guys are very a focused group, mature group, very wanting to win as many games as possible. And, there is the possibility of finishing first in our division, whether that gives us the benefit of having home ice much longer. But, I think guys are focused on wanting to play the right way and doing well.
Vancouver tomorrow, and obviously there's lots on the line here. Do you think that, is it sort of natural instinct for players to be looking ahead a little bit in some ways? You had big games kind of on either end here. Is it human nature for some of that to creep in?
I think, sorry, Ryan, we repeat that again?
No problem. Just with a huge game against Vancouver tomorrow, you just played a pretty big one here. Is it human nature maybe for a game like tonight for guys to be looking a little bit further ahead and for that to kind of creep into the psyche a bit?
Possibility. You look at the last weekend of having a great game against Colorado and then going into Calgary, and it wasn't nearly as well played as the previous game because there was a high. And, very similar. This weekend, just the games are reversed. The big game's on the second one, and the first game's just another game. But I think we found our game. I thought we played well enough to win it. It wasn't the start that we liked, but no matter you're playing those back-to-backs, I think you always get up for the ones that you're playing that elite team or the one that you're fighting for in a position. Yeah, there might have been some of that, but I don't think that's the reason why I'm losing or winning tonight.
Chris, what's the game plan when you don't have Connor and you got a 3-on-3 in overtime? Normally you just send him out for the first shift with Leon and away you go, but he was not there tonight. So what was the rationale as to who played with whom?
Nagy's been pretty good, really responsible, also providing some offense there. Leon's obviously the first one over the boards, and then Hyman's the next one. We just bumped everyone up a little bit, and then, unfortunately we didn't get in our full rotation, but I'm not sure whether, I don't think it had anything to do with the pairs. It's just sometimes it works out that way.
Is it unfortunate considering the two saves that your goalie made in the...
Yeah, no.
That you lost the game?
Well, a couple things. Picks made a lot of good saves early in the game to give us an opportunity. Early it could have maybe got out of hand. He kept it in with making some huge saves. And then also, overtime, make those two back-to-back saves. You're thinking, all right, there's it. We're going to go get it. And, we had the 2-on-1. Heisey drove the puck to the net. We had some looks, but, it wasn't to be.
Thank you.
What have you thought of Dylan Holloway through a couple of games here since the recall?
I think he's been playing really well. I think what he adds to our team is the energy, the tenacity, the physicality, the hits, being able to break up plays. He contributed a little bit on offense, scoring a goal the other night. And, so far, 2 games since he's been returned, he's played really well for us.
What are the chances Connor's back in the lineup tomorrow?
We'll see tomorrow. I think, it's probably 50-50. I think, like I said before, it's been different if it was the playoffs. I think very close, if not playing for sure. Tomorrow we'll see. He's been getting better and better. He's been really close, and it's been questionable for a couple of days now. Tomorrow we'll see.
Both goals tonight were generated by the Kane, Foegele, and Henrique line. Just some thoughts on that line's play tonight.
Yeah, I thought they played really well. They had some good chances early in the game. I believe it was Kane who rattled 2 goalposts in the same play. He shot one, rebound back to him. I think the next one went off the crossbar. For them to get our goals tonight, they played really well. So we're happy. Obviously, tomorrow, if Connor does come in, we'll have some line juggling to do. But those 3 played really well. Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, there was Chris Knoblauch following his team's 3-2 loss in overtime. A little bit ho-hum, but he doesn't get too worked up in post-game pressers or at all, it seems like, generally. So very even-keeled approach, Chris Knoblauch, and that's one thing we've learned about him in his time behind the Oilers bench. All right, you can text us 780-218-9999, and then the nasty chat continues to hum along just nicely. Okay, we need to do this. We need to get to some business. And now we go to the big save of the game presented by Chris Boyle, business owner and tax saver. Chris Boyle strategically works with both businesses and families with strategic planning and risk management, like a young Joaquin Gage, a goalie protecting the net, shielding your paycheck from unforeseen events like illness or hospitalization, and ensuring your family's financial stability in the face of unexpected circumstances. For a chance to win playoff tickets, scan the QR code in the corner of your screen or visit christopherboyle.net/postgame show. And I'm going to give the big save of the game to Calvin Pickard, and it was the back-to-back saves. I think he went post to post on one of them in overtime, and without Pickard tonight, this wouldn't have even been a loser point for the Oilers. He also gets honorable mention for the glove save on Clayton Keller in the first period, and then he had a two-pad stack on Cooley as well on a PK midway through the first. So Calvin Pickard, with his saves in OT, gets the Christopher Boyle big save of the game. Again, scan the QR code in the bottom of the screen if you're watching. And then if you're listening, you can also enter for a chance to win playoff tickets by visiting christopherboyle.net/postgame show. All right, Trev, you are up now because it's time for the Damon Bunting RE/MAX Elite Player of the Game. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. YouTube, Trev, what do you got, big boy?
Yeah, so there's a theme here, Tommy. I mean, I can't really pick anyone. Like, as far as the forwards go, no one really showed up tonight. I thought Darnell Nurse had okay night. Obviously, he chimed in with the goal. But it's got to be Calvin Pickard. We talked about it. He was easily their best player of the game. So yeah, and he's kind of. I loved what Joaquin Gage had to say during intermission. Just a bright spot, one of many for the Oilers this season. When called upon, he showed like he's been everything the Oilers have wanted and more. And who'd have thunk it? Because he didn't start the team. He didn't start as an Oiler this season, as we all know. But tonight, .293 goals against average, .893 save percentage. So not bad, but like you're just talking about the saves. Like he had more. There was lots to pick from for the save of the game tonight. So
Absolutely.
He definitely kept him in it tonight, and he's been keeping like it just every single game he showed up. I think he's had one bad game all season where we've kind of been like, it wasn't his best game, but besides that, like he's just been so consistent, and it's awesome. It's a great story. So Calvin Pickard, you got the Damon Bunting Player of the Game.
Calvin Pickard probably wanted a better showing than what we saw against Dallas last week, and that wasn't on him, certainly. That was on the guys in front of him. Weren't ready. Darnell Nurse in that 10-minute misconduct, that set a bad tone for the Oilers the rest of the way. But Pickard totally redeemed himself with a rock-solid performance tonight. Ultimately, it's a 3-2 overtime loss, but he does get the big save of the game, and he does pick up the Damon Bunting Player of the Game from YouTube, Trev, and yours truly. All right, let's wrap up with a few texts here. This one from Big Uke. What's up, Big Uke? Says 3-on-3 is crap. It's a crapshoot. Best period was the third. I expect a much better game tomorrow. They want the best Van division up for grabs or not. Plus the big win tomorrow night. I'll have a brew ready and waiting at Kelly's for you and YTT. Come on down to claim it. Big Uke, we might have to take you up on that because Trev is making his debut in the press box tomorrow night. He is a working member of the media, and he's very excited for it. I am super stoked to bring him out and show him a bit of the ropes and get him acclimated with some of the folks that are down at the rink, because this young man is the future of broadcasting in this fine city. So there you go.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's going to be awesome. I'll be on my best behavior tomorrow, Tommy, and I feel like I've come a long way since the beginning of the season, and I'm finding I'm a fan, but I can put that aside, and I have been putting on the side for quite a bit. But tomorrow I'm showing up as a professional, and I can't wait for that. So it's going to be cool. I put a little thing out on Facebook, and just the support I got from back home. Everyone's like, wow, you're just crushing it in the big city. So it's sweet. I can't wait for the opportunity. It's going to be awesome. And I get to go with someone. I grew up, watching, and I was telling Dusty before we started the morning show, I'm like, yeah, like Tom's like, I watched him at Oilers TV every single day. I loved him, and I still do. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it, buddy. We're going to have a good time.
It's going to be excellent. And then YouTube Trev will be along for the ride tomorrow as well on Hello Hockey. We have a great show tomorrow. Just a quick sample of what to expect. Brian Burke, Jim Nill, GM of the Dallas Stars, and David Pagnotta. That'll give us the insight into everything going on with the Arizona Coyotes, soon to be Salt Lake City, whatever the nickname will be. But we have a great show for you at 10 o'clock in the morning until noon, and then you can catch the pregame show at 6:30, and then Trev and I will be down at the rink. All right, a couple more texts, and we will say good night. Neil Garrity says, I trust the coach with the best record in the league. Knoblauch's record, by the way, if you're wondering, is as the bench boss for the Oilers. He is 45-15-5 now after that OT loss. And then a couple more texts here. James says, all I can say is I won't be surprised if McDavid drags this team to a cup championship. I also wouldn't be surprised if they lost in the first round due to poor starts and not playing the right way. Yeah, it's fair to wonder what version of this Oilers team will show up night to night in the postseason. If they play like they did today, they ain't going far. If they play like they did on Wednesday, they will be A-OK. All right. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream post-game show. The Oilers fall 3-2 in overtime to the Arizona Coyotes, who will be that for maybe less than a week, and then it's off to Salt Lake City. For YouTube Trev, Matt Kassian, and Joaquin Gage, who is in studio with me here at my place, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thanks for tuning in. Have yourselves a lovely night, everyone. Mix in a water, and we will see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.